Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to talk about how some while ago Poland dealt with a well-organized action directed from Minsk and Moscow. Up to 7,000 migrants and asylum seekers had been spotted on the Polish border. They were among thousands of people provided with tourist visas in recent months with the help of travel agencies in the Middle East working in partnership with tour operators in Belarus, according to documents and witness accounts. A few days after arriving in Minsk, various familia made its way to the Belarus-Poland border, joining a wave of Iraqis, Syrians, Afghans and others attempting the hazardous and sometimes deadly crossing into the European Union to start a new life. It was an orchestrated joint venture by criminals and Belarusian authorities, who were fulfilling Kremlin's plan to flood and destabilize Europe with migrants. Please note, you will never hear about this from English-born Putin chihuahuas. There, Russia is always nice and dandy. The planes would carry tourists that were not going for tourism. The Belarusian government knew very well that these people were not tourists and that they were going to the Polish border. This would not stop them getting rich at their expense. They would often hire thugs and mercenaries to do the dirty job and throw them at the Polish border. The migrant families would often sell their households, spending thousands of dollars and risking lives with no guarantee of settling in the EU. The European Union has accused Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko of orchestrating the influx of migrants, to pressure it to back down over sanctions slapped on his government over his allegiance to Putin. As a result, Polish President Andrzej Duda issued a decree introducing a state of emergency along Poland's border with Belarus at the request of the government. The officially stated purpose was to ensure public order amid an ongoing surge in attempts to cross the border illegally. However, taking into account events at the border and the government's track record, there were legitimate doubts as to the real reasons behind such an extraordinary measure. This is the story of the untold price it takes to preserve the border. This is the true story that was almost never mentioned in the Western media. Hidden from the world and brushed under the carpet. Poland declared the state of emergency, announced for the first time since 1981, when the martial law was introduced and many anti-communist activists were sent to internment camps against their will. What this meant in practice is certain constitutional rights and freedoms during the emergency state were suspended. Public assemblies and mass gatherings in the area concerned were suspended. No one other than those who lived, work or study in the area was permitted to enter it. Every person was required to hold an identity card on public premises. Freedom of information, media reporting has become restricted and recording border guards, police and the military was forbidden. This isn't 1981 by the way. I am talking about year 2021. Would you allow such state of emergency somewhere in Kent? I very much doubt it. One should ask whether the requested measures were ever adequate and met all the criteria set out in the Polish constitution. That's not the end of the story though. Once Poland got free rein, they began officially pushing back migrants trying to cross the border outside of their border control points. They pushed them back to the woodlands and built the wall. The Belarusian guards started doing the same from their end, playing ping pong. Now, on the Polish side of the border, the migrants and their families had no water and their phones had been broken and cut off. Locals in several villages and Polish towns along the border had all witnessed migrants, including many families with children. The locals told stories of migrants asking for water and food or help in getting a taxi out of their area, or sleeping in their fields. Locals have all been instructed to call the border police as soon as they spot migrants. It took less than 30 minutes sometimes for the border police to show up and apprehend the Iraqi men after they were seen by a local youth biking by the fields, where the migrants were resting. This was also witnessed by border guards checking at random cars driving in their border area. This is where things started going very tragic. The deadly Polish winter came and temperatures dropped to -20. Network of activists and locals provided the stranded migrants, sleeping rough in woodlands, with food, clothes, medicines and, sometimes, shelter, though at least 50 people have died and 200 have gone missing in the Mom forest since the crisis started in late 2021. People died from exhaustion, hunger and hypothermia. They sold their houses and left in search of a secure place only to find themselves being treated worse than animals. Unable to go back home. Set up to freeze to death. Would you be prepared to go to such lengths in the name of sovereign borders? Would you be prepared to go to such lengths in the name of preserving your cultural homogeneous identity? I think you would rather have someone else do the dirty job so that you could maintain your fake moral high ground. Those migrants did not put their women and children in danger. They paid for their visas, flights, hotels and taxis. Poland's authorities let them die and went full-on fascist state on the composite nation that was looking to help in the final hours of their lives. The Poles wanted to help out of universal principles that make us all human and tell us apart from animals. They introduced fake, fascist martial law so that you could sleep tight and when you wake up in the morning, smell the cough and make your sweet lovely videos from the heart of culturally rich Budapest. Innocent children were allowed to freeze to death in woodlands so that you could talk your sweet little bullshit. That Hungary, unlike Britain, managed to maintain its ethnic homogeneity. Enjoy your cuppa and smell of the Budapest city, but remember the price for it. I won't let it be forgotten. When the refugees first stumbled euphorically into Poland, believing that their worries were over, they still felt like human beings. But this was eroded by the pure horror of being brutally evicted back to Belarus and then thrown back into Poland by soldiers, neither of whom wanted the responsibility of dealing with them, back and forth. All of it was done under cover of that forest, whose darkness made it a bit easier to get away with uniformed brutality, frost bites, no medical aid, outbreaks of diseases and tragic deaths. I think you would secretly give your thumbs up to that. Whist enjoying your cuppa, acting like everything is hunky-dory. Sweet dreams.